Today, I'm going to be breaking down what a living dex is in the Pokemon games, as well as some of the difficulties that come with trying to complete one, and my progress in my Fire Red save file. A living dex is when you collect every single Pokemon from that region's Pokedex. So I'm playing Fire Red, that means there's 151 Pokemon to collect. And two common misconceptions with the living dex are, oh, well, I saw it, that doesn't count. Another misconception is, oh, well, I had it at one point, also doesn't count. If you start with Charmander, and then you evolve it to Charmeleon, and then you evolve it to Charizard, and you have a Charizard in your box, you cannot cross off Charmander and Charmeleon because they are not sitting in your box. This is what mine looks like, and you will see what I mean because there are spots missing for all of the starters besides Venusaur so far. Now let's go over some of the major challenges and hurdles that you might encounter while trying to complete a living dex. So to preface all of this, you need to understand how Pokemon save files work, okay? When you start a save file on your game, all decisions you make are final. When you choose Hitmonchan over Hitmonlee, you will never be able to get Hitmonlee back. When you choose your starter, you will never be able to get that starter back. When you evolve a Pokemon, you will never be able to devolve that Pokemon. And so this is where we run into our first major challenge, and I like to call it save file voodoo, okay? Now, what I mean by save file voodoo is that you will need to somehow be able to play multiple runs of your game, but you can only have one save at a time on your cartridge. So using a device like the Epilogue Game Boy Operator, you can save the file, boot up a new game, do everything you need to do, trade that away to a different game, and then boot the old save file, the completed save file, back onto the cartridge, trade the stuff that you already traded away, back to the save file that you need, bang, boom, pow. It's a whole process. I'm going to make a video about it when I finally get to that stage to maybe walk anyone through this that's also trying to do it. Besides the whole save file cart reader voodoo, that is the way I know how and how I am going about completing my living dex, there are a bunch of other difficulties that I'm sure everyone runs into when trying to complete these. I've already kind of hinted at it, but one of the biggest issues is starters. When you start your game, you pick one starter, and you probably evolve it all the way to its third stage. So that's one out of the 9 Pokemon that are in the starter category. And I just talked about it. This is where the save file voodoo comes up first. So I would have to start a save file, pick a starter, evolve that starter to the point I need it at, and then trade it away entirely to a new cartridge, boot the old or completed save file back onto the Fire Red, and then trade those Pokemon to the Fire Red. And I would have to do that for every single starter Pokemon, all 9 of them. So that's already 9 save files. The second biggest issue when doing a living dex, in my opinion, is the fact that there are exclusives to the different Pokemon games. I'm playing Fire Red, so I obviously have all of the Fire Red exclusives, but there are about 8 or 9 Leaf Green exclusives that I can get my hands on because I don't have Leaf Green. This is honestly the biggest challenge, I think, for me in completing this, is because I don't have it and I don't want to pay $200 to buy it. So I'm going to have to find someone, or I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. If you actually have any tips or tricks on getting the Leaf Green exclusives legitimately, drop them in the comments. Another major challenge with doing a living dex is the Safari Zone. Oh my gosh, the Safari Zone mechanics are awful. There is no true way to go about catching a Pokemon in the Safari Zone. I learned you are going to go into maybe the near 50s of encounters trying to catch Pokemon from the Safari Zone. You just need to brute force your way into catching that Pokemon and just spam balls, okay? Doing rocks, bullshit, okay? Just ball, 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 ball. Get in my ball, please, Scyther, please, please. Scyther absolutely traumatized me doing this challenge. I posted 2 videos about it. It took me like over 2 weeks. It was what? The next major issue with doing a living dex is the fact that you are limited to your choices. When you pick Hitmonlee over Hitmonchan, you have to go and do another save file. When you pick the certain fossil over the other fossil, that means you have to do the same thing. You have to do another save file. Not another save file because you could, coincide them, and that's only 2 save files, but you get my point. There's also the issue of trading evolutions. If you don't have another cartridge from Gen 3 to trade to, you're kind of SOL. Luckily, I have an Emerald and Sapphire cartridge, which do work with trading with Fire Red, so I can just trade back and forth between myself. And lastly, my least favorite issue of doing the living dex so far is freaking Porygon. If you are not aware of how to obtain Porygon in the Gen 3 games, there is only one way, and that is from the Celadon Game Corner. If you are not traumatized by the Celadon Game Corner, you probably don't have Prize Picks or Fliff or Hard Rock Bets or DraftKings or anything of the sort on your phone. You've probably never stepped foot in a casino. You have no idea what stake is or Polymarket, and God bless your heart. But for those of us that got corrupted at a young age by the Celadon Game Corner, we know how it goes. Basically, the only way to obtain Porygon in Gen 3 is by gambling in the Celadon Game Corner on the Pokemon slots. You're like, Luke, what? You're crazy. Gambling in Pokemon? Isn't that a kid's game? Yeah, no. So next to the Celadon Game Corner, you can go to this middle dude, and he sells Pokemon for game coins. And at the very bottom, Porygon is sold for almost 10,000 game coins. Oh, 10,000 game coins, that's not a lot. You're wrong. The conversion rate from Pokédollars to Game Corner coins is actually absurd. For every 500 Game Corner coins, it's 10,000 Pokédollars. That math comes out to 1,980,000 Pokédollars. For reference, I have 100K in my Pokébank right now. So just trying to outright buy Porygon is almost impossible in the basic without cheating game. So this is what we do instead, okay? We come into the Celadon Game Corner, we go to our lucky machine, we enter it, and we play slots. This is one of the most grueling tasks I think I've ever faced in gaming in general. I sit here and I press my S key 3 times to light up the 3 lines, and then I press my spacebar 3 times, and I try to line them up. So I just sit here and I do this until that number is the number I need in the top left. I need 99999. So this is one of the most grueling gaming tasks I think I've ever faced, and oh, we almost got one. It is so boring. It is so like. But yeah, guys, that is the overview of the living dex and all the challenges you might encounter if you try to complete one yourself. I have 121 of the 151 Pokemon needed, putting me right at 80%. So we are almost there. So close. Follow for more. If you guys are going to try this challenge out yourself, let me know in the comments. If you guys have any questions on how I'm doing this, let me know and I'll try to get back to you guys.